I think one of the most overrated or underrated aspects of garden is humidity. I kind of speak of myself on this because I overlooked humidity for so long because I didn't use a tent. I was using a massive room, and the idea of manipulating the humidity in a big room is, it's unlikely, especially if it's not sealed. So I never really manipulated my humidity. Now that I'm in a tent, I'm seeing huge differences that I can actually keep the humidity at a nice, healthy level. Now, I prefer a range in humidity throughout the entirety of the grow. I find seedlings and clones, they're going to want a much higher humidity. And I mean high. This is why I dome them, And so, like, I want 90% humidity on my clones. But I don't want my entire tent to be 90% because then it's going to be sweating. Yeah. So nice and high, as it becomes a seedling or as it gets, I'm going to lower it down a little bit, 70s through veg. And then as you get a little bit later, early flower, later flower, you're going to start to decrease it even more, ensuring that you're not going to get too much moisture building up between the buds. Somewhere in around that 40% is where I enjoy mine, late flower. And then temperatures is around the same, actually. It's, or high as you are younger. Veg, I always like to think, are seedlings. They like to be embraced in a nice warm hug. So they like the nice warm temperatures, the mid-80s, 80s to mid-80s.
What's that in Celsius?
Not a clue, man. Weed doesn't grow in Celsius.
Oh, I thought you were Canadian.
Yep, absolutely. All the resources to grow this beautiful plant of ours is American, and I've been trying to research this plant since like 2008.
It's all fine Fahrenheit all over the place.
Freedom units everywhere.
Freedom units.
So I don't know. I have a T-shirt on my website that says "Weed doesn't grow in Celsius." So
that's a good one.
It's crazy, man. Like I remember finding the forums back in the day, and like that's all you'd find is Celsius because it's like all these people from like the UK or Amsterdam, underground growers, and Canada, underground growers, people from like BC and stuff.
I don't know anything else in Fahrenheit. I know nothing. I only know how to grow weed in Fahrenheit.
Just like I'm not really like a grams. I don't weight measurement is not my thing. But once I put it into weed, I'm like, oh yeah, it's 1/4 of an ounce. That's 7 grams.
Yeah. Yeah. I need 7 grams of sugar in my baking.
So it was like, I'm trying to get an 1/8 of an ounce, 3.5 grams. I'm gonna really know your measurement.
Who said drugs would know my math?
I think when you look at like the overall temperature and humidity, like mine varies per genetics, but I've got so many different cultivars that I've been growing now that I'm trying to stick with certain ones that I do pretty much the same range as Pete. Only thing I'd vary in is my seedlings. I don't have a dome that I'm doing. I just spray the hell out of them pretty consistently with water. Right now I'm using the Petritool fogger, which is using real nice little mini.
Is that Ben's?
Yeah.
That thing just man. Should have been. We've partied with that guy in Vegas.
Guy, man. Cool. Shout out Ben. It was a blast. That thing's working great. I just keep moist there. It's more manual labor doing that versus having the dome. So I might switch to that.
It's so easy, man. And the reason I say the dome is because that moisture retains for hours, bro. Whereas
versus I have to go in there every couple hours.
25 times a day.
Yeah.
I have to go in. The dome doesn't alleviate going in there. If you just need something you need to take into consideration if you're going to be doing seedlings. It's a little more meticulous. You are going to be in your garden a couple times a day, and that's to keep them moist.
Well, like that's where the humidifier is great. I love AC Infinity's new humidifier. That's awesome too.
Yeah, that's good.
Downside with a lot of people that they don't seem to realize is you don't just use regular tap water. Unless you want to have a buildup of calcium all over your tent.
Yeah, good point. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's a horrible look. And if you just glance it with no glasses like I did, you may mistake it for powdery mildew. Got to be careful. And so that humidity.
That's with any humidifier. That's using
any humidifier. Definitely not JC's.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. Now, my biggest gripe with the humidifier in there is unless you do have something like AC Infinity's side, they're not that accurate with shutting off because it doesn't have the whole temperature or humidity of your room. It just has like that roundabout little area unless you spend a lot of money on them. Ones I've had over the years have been really like, I wouldn't say like just medical style, like ones like desktop, those little ones. So now I'm really trying to focus on quality humidifiers because just like with the dome, it's like if you don't just put that in place initially, you'll see it later in your room that you slacked. And for me, spraying every time isn't the best option, especially if you have a perpetual grow. I don't have,
time.
Time is a major factor. And also I don't have just one room. I've got my veg room that has teens and has babies and seedlings and everything. So if I'm in there just going hog wild and spraying everything down when they kind of need to change the humidity as they're hardening off into flower, I'm shooting myself in the foot. So I'm really trying to dial in that space of my seedlings and my propagation center versus the full vegging, because then my humidity can be dialed in exactly. Especially, again, using a quality humidifier, if you need the heater, air conditioner, depending on in your room. But trying to do too much in one space and changing it for different like stages of the garden is stupid. I've done it way too long. And you can make it work, but it's like, wow, it's difficult.
Huge advantage to your environment is having to your garden is having multiple environments.
Yeah.
You know, multiple tents.
Certain stages just for that particular area.
How many tents?
2.
2?
Yep.
And that alone makes a huge difference. Just 2. Because you have a veg and a flower room. You know, and then there's an argument that 3 is nice, and someone will say 4, you know what I mean? But it's having that where you can, you know, move them over to say, okay, so much, you know, I'm going to have my humidity a little bit higher in here because it's veg, a little bit lower in here because I'm moving into flower now. And
this FTS clip was brought to you by AC Infinity, leaders in garden innovation. Use discount code TheStash15 at checkout to save some money on your order.
From the Stash Podcast.